All right, let's cut right to the chase. The whole story you're hearing about this frantic, reckless $700 billion AI arms race, it's a complete misread of what's actually happening. What you're seeing isn't panic. No, you're witnessing the single largest, most calculated exploitation of the US tax code in modern history.
And this, right here, is the absolute core of our thesis. Everyone seems to think big tech isn't some kind of margin-destroying scramble, just throwing cash at the wall to keep up with AI. They are completely wrong. This is a cold, calculated financial strategy to leverage the US tax code on a scale we've never seen before.
So let's talk about the number that's got the market so spooked. $700 billion. That's what the top tech giants have guided for in AI capital spending for 2026 alone. I mean, to put that into perspective, that's bigger than the entire GDP of Switzerland. But here's the thing. This isn't reckless spending. It's a massive arbitrage play.
Just look at the acceleration here. You've got Amazon guiding toward $200 billion. Alphabet's not far behind at all. These aren't just big numbers, you know. They represent a year-over-year growth rate that Wall Street just completely whiffed on. Analysts were calling for maybe 20% growth. The reality is looking closer to 70%. Something else is going on.
So what is really fueling this explosion? It's not just about keeping up with competitors. The real catalyst, the hidden engine behind all of this, is a single piece of legislation. This is the smoking gun. It's called the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, or OBBBA. It was signed into law in mid-2025. Now, publicly, it was framed as a way to boost domestic investment. But for big tech, it became a direct sovereign subsidy for building out their entire AI infrastructure. And here's the core of it, 100% bonus depreciation. Okay, in simple terms, this means if a company like Google spends $1 billion on new servers, they get to deduct the entire $1 billion from their taxable income that same year. It's an immediate, massive tax shield for their super profitable divisions like advertising and cloud services.
And this chart really shows you how dramatic that shift was. The old law, the TCJA, was actually phasing this benefit out. It was on track to hit zero. But OBBBA didn't just stop the phase out, it slammed it into reverse and made 100% bonus depreciation permanent. It basically created this massive, urgent incentive to deploy huge amounts of capital right now.
So let's be really clear about what this is. This isn't just some minor tax break. It functions as a direct, government-backed subsidy for building out America's AI infrastructure. Every single dollar they spend on a data center comes with a huge government rebate, paid for by shielded profits.
Okay, so this tax subsidy is pouring gasoline on the fire, for sure. But it's also accelerating another critical trend that's been bubbling under the surface. You see, big tech is getting really tired of paying a toll to one single vendor. They're staging a rebellion, a custom silicon rebellion.
We call it the NVIDIA tax. I mean, think about it. With gross margins clearing 70% and a market share somewhere north of 90% in AI chips, NVIDIA is basically the tax collector for the entire industry. And for hyperscalers who are spending billions, well, that margin is a gigantic cost that they are now moving aggressively to get rid of.
And that's exactly why we're seeing this huge shift. Instead of just buying general-purpose GPUs off the shelf from NVIDIA, companies like Google, Meta, and Amazon are pouring billions into designing their own custom chips. These are tailor-made for their specific workloads, especially AI inference, and that lets them just crush their total cost of ownership.
The data here tells the whole story. The projected growth for these custom chips, or ASICs, is a staggering 44.6% a year. That's nearly 3 times the growth rate for general-purpose GPUs. This isn't just some passing trend, it's a permanent structural shift happening in the hardware market.
And here's your proof. The AI art company Midjourney said that by switching their inference workloads from NVIDIA GPUs to Google's custom TPUs, they cut their monthly compute costs by 65%. Now imagine you're operating at the scale of Meta or Amazon. That percentage right there translates into literally billions of dollars in savings every single year.
So they've got the tax incentive to spend a fortune, and they've got the hardware strategy to make that spending incredibly efficient. But both of those things are about to run headfirst into a hard physical limit, a problem that you can't solve with financial engineering or clever chip design.
This number, 2,800, represents the coming supply shock. There are 2,800 new AI data centers currently planned or under construction in the US alone. This is a build-out so massive it's creating choke points everywhere, in labor, in materials, and most importantly, in the power grid.
And this is the question that now defines the entire investment landscape.
it's the whole ballgame. You can have all the tax breaks and all the custom chips in the world, but if you don't have the power to turn them on, they're just expensive paperweights. So where is all this energy going to come from?
Well, the answer is forcing big tech to get into the energy business. Seriously, Google is funding the restart of a nuclear plant. Meta is on its way to becoming one of the biggest corporate buyers of nuclear power on the entire planet. These aren't just feel-good renewable energy credits. We're talking about massive, long-term deals for firm, 24/7 power to meet the absolutely relentless demand of these new data centers.
So the primary constraint of the AI era has officially shifted. For the past couple of years, the bottleneck was always the supply of silicon coming out of foundries like TSMC. Today, and for the foreseeable future, the bottleneck is the grid. It's the raw availability of electricity.
So how do we actually trade this new reality? Look, the AI infrastructure trade isn't about buying the hype anymore. It's about following the capital, following that $700 billion to the real physical bottlenecks.
Here's the playbook. It's pretty simple. First, you have to ignore the hype around these AI software companies that may or may not ever actually make money. Second, you follow the capital to where it's hitting a physical wall. And third, you invest in the companies that own those walls, the ones providing the picks, the shovels, and most critically, the power.
And that's the ultimate takeaway here. The mad dash to build artificial intelligence has ended up revealing a much older, much more powerful monopoly. That $700 billion isn't just buying chips anymore. It's buying power. And in this new era, the ultimate monopoly isn't the AI model. It's the electricity that brings it to life.